mutual respect and tolerance. All right, George, I would like to get your thought on this, or on the stance of the Ohanese in terms of the presidency, or let me say regionalism, because that is what it seems to be like. I'd like to get your thought on this.
Okay, thank you very much. First thing first, I must say that this should not even make a news. You know, if you look at what's happened there, you come to understand that ordinarily what they call meddlesomeness, you know, does not really, you know, play. Because I didn't see any form of meddlesomeness in what the INC, that's the Ijaw National Congress, was trying to say.
Okay.
And what they were trying to say is that they believe in one Nigeria, and if there's a need for such kind of separation, that the Ijaw nation will not be submerged into any of the bigger national ethnic groups, that they will stand on their own. And while the story is talking about meddlesomeness of, you know, the Ohanese and the Igbo Rivers chapter, you know, angling for the presidency of the socio-cultural group. So I don't even see any need. And if there is some kind of meddlesomeness, then what for? Because we are talking about Ohanese and Igbo, and we are also talking about the Ijaw nation. These are two distinct, you know, ethnic nationalities, groups that does not have anything in common. So in the first place, this should not even make news. However, from the clarification of Livingstone Wechi, you know, what they are gunning for is the presidency of Ohanese and Igbo, which has no, you know, negative effect on the INC, because the INC is a distinct group from the Ohanese and Igbo. They have been living peacefully, you know, they have been cohabiting for centuries. So it is not something that's at this point one will begin to. In fact, I don't see any relation in what's, you know, transpired. There won't be any issue. The Ohanese and Igbo Rivers chapter, you know, there are some ethnic groups in Rivers State that, you know, have some kind of similarities with the larger Igbo tribe, you know, and they belong to that socio-cultural group. And from my understanding, they zone their leadership from time to time. So at this point, it is the turn of, you know, the Rivers Igbos. So the Ijaws are not the Igbos. So there's no relationship whatsoever at this point. I don't see. You know, they should just try to understand that these are distinct groups, and they should operate within, you know, their formation, not meddling into the affairs of, you know, different groups. I don't see anything like that.
Okay, I get your thoughts on that. So, like, one will also think if we have these different ethnic groups, like the Afenifere, we have the Ndibo, we have the Ijaw National Congress, and all of that. So, why do we have all of these groups? You know, they all share the same ambitions, right? That is, you know, being coexisting in unity. But then we say we call ourselves one Nigeria. What happens to that? What happens to that aspect of being one Nigeria?
You can't take away the fact that you know, we have different ethnic groups that make up the geopolitical zone.
All right.
You know, called Nigeria today. You cannot, you know, be nationalistic. That is where the one Nigeria comes in. But before the one Nigeria, you are coming from a place. So there's nothing wrong in identifying your people. The only thing that will be wrong is if in any of these ethnic nationality is coming to agitate, you know, for the solution of the Nigerian state. That is where it becomes an issue. But as long as they are doing whatever they are doing within their enclave, there's nothing wrong in trying to unite and foster unity amongst them people, using that socio-political and socio-cultural, you know, group like INC, Ohanese and Igbo, Arewa, things like that, you know. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right, so
it does not affect the issue of nationality, which is one Nigeria.
So let's take a bit to, you know, some states like the Ndibo, we have the, you know, the Afenifere, and all of them, they just want Nigeria to be regionalized. So I would like to get your thoughts on that. As regards to this, when you say that there's nothing wrong with having the Ndibo, the ethnic groups and all of that, I'd like to get your thoughts as well on that.
Talking about regionalism, we once practiced regionalism back then in the 60s. And, if you go back in memory lane, you know, the report we got is that regionalism favored Nigeria more. You know, some of the developments that you see today were as a result of, you know, the regional government, you know, system. But to be frank with you, we have moved past that stage. And if you look at some of the agitation amongst the different ethnic groups today, going back to that regionalism will cause more harm, if you ask me.
Okay.
Because when Nigeria was operating regionalism, the agitation was not this small. People were just concerned with, you know, having basic things. Nobody was thinking more. But over time, people began to see that you know, some of these bigger tribes swallow the smaller tribes. So it became an issue. So if you go back to regionalism, you still see such issues, you know, reoccurring. So these are statehood, you know, where we operate a state system. I think it's still okay. Even at that, you still see some of those agitation, like in a multi-ethnic state like River State, where you have over 5, 6, 7, or 8, you know, different ethnic nationalities coming together as one state. The issue of who becomes governor comes, you know, into play. And, you know, it boils the politics from time to time. So there's no way, you know, you can go back to that regionalism and expect to have the same result you had that time, because the level of awareness is so much now. So for me, there's nothing wrong in calling for renaming of Nigeria to whatever. There's also everything wrong in calling for renaming. That is not our bigger problem.
Okay.
The biggest problem is about leadership. If, you know, the what we call the political class,
Yes.
you know, the leaders of this nation, the superstructure, which is politics, those who are handling it will come to say, okay, identify what is needed, what is supposed to be done, you know, for the country to move forward. You see that the ordinary Ijaw man, the ordinary Ipere man, the ordinary Kanuri man would not be agitating for this or that, because you're contented with the basic things provided, you know, where the country will be moving forward. The call for this agitation you keep hearing or saying is because of the failure of leadership in Nigeria. Failure of leadership, people, you know, feel alienated. People feel that, you know, those who are leading the political class are just there for themselves. So the ordinary people now hop on those fault lines that seems to divide us, like, you know, the issue of regionalism, the issue of ethnic nationality and things, ethnicities and things like that. So, but if the leadership at the apex decide to put the basic things on ground, I don't think the ordinary man will be interested in this is our own. It's no, nothing like that.
All right then. So we'll move on to the next story now. Edo State Governor Monday Okpebolo has sworn in 3 judges who his predecessor Godwin Obaseki refused to swear in despite the recommendation of the National Judicial Council (NJC). The 3 judges were sworn in into Edo State High Court at the Government House in Benin City on Monday. Okpebolo charged the judges to maintain high standard of conduct, ensure fair dispute resolution, uphold the rights of citizens, and bring culprits to justice. During my swearing-in ceremony as governor of Edo State on the 12th of November 2024, I acknowledged the critical role of the judiciary under the doctrine of separation of powers. Today, we gathered here to strengthen that role for the judiciary. The National Judicial Council in June 2023 had recommended 8 persons for appointment as judges of the Edo State High Court. 11 months after that recommendation, only 5 of them were sworn in by the immediate past administration, leaving out 3, even when they had all been cleared and recommended by the same NJC. In my inaugural speech, I made a promise to look into the case. Today, we have the privilege to right the wrong. The 3 judges will now have the opportunity to sit with their colleagues as the bench of the Edo State High Court to discharge their duties as beacon of hopes. For me, no one should be discriminated, marginalized, nor hated for personal reasons or on account of not having a godfather. As judges of the State High Court, we expect you to uphold high standard of conduct, ensure fair dispute resolution, uphold rights of citizens, and bring culprits to justice, he said. The 3 judges sworn in are Ojo Morinosa, Okundamiya Godwin Jeff, and Edohogo Eboigbe. Responding on behalf of the judges, Justice Ojo Morinosa thanked the governor for the opportunity given them to serve as judges in Edo State. Justice Osa also appreciated the governor for making their swearing in a reality just 3 weeks into office. She prayed that the governor's tenure will be marked with success and advancements of justice for all, and assured that they will dispense justice without fear or favor. All right, here is Governor Okpebolo swearing in this CJN that Obaseki refused to swear in. What do you make of this move?
Okay, let me say that there's something wrong with our constitution.
Okay.
First thing first, we are talking about the independence of the judiciary. One of the ways to have that independence of the judiciary is to completely remove the swearing in of judges by the executive arm, led by the governor of the state.
Okay.
The NJC is there, National Judicial Council. They have their leadership. I think not just the issue of the governor recommending to them, then screening and returning back to the governor. They should do both the recommendation. They know who is who based on hierarchy in the state, based on competence. They should do the screening and also the swearing in. There should be something like that. Even if you have a kind of state judicial council that at the state level, not at the federal level. Let's say NJC is at the federal level. Having something like a state judicial council at the state level to do the screening and also swear in some of these judges. Look at what transpired for years. The immediate past governor, Baseke, refused for whatever reasons.
Yes.
For whatever reasons.
Nigerians have been questioning these reasons why they were not appointed.
These are political, obviously. Probably they felt that these judges may not do his bidding or something.
All right.
And you have denied the state, you have denied the people, of swearing in people who were qualified, who have been screened by NJC. At your own whims and caprice, you refuse. It shouldn't be so. It shouldn't be so. We are talking about the independence of judiciary. Now, okay, look at what have transpired today. Okpebholo have come within 2 or 3 weeks.
Appointed.
So, swore them into office. Obviously, their loyalty, we tied to Okpebholo. If you look at the statement that one of the judges made there, thanking Okpebholo for doing that just within 3 weeks into his administration. So obviously, his loyalty will be tied to that of the government. It shouldn't be so. So when there's a constitutional review, they should look into that aspect and ensure that the appointment of judges into state high court, into state judiciary, should be removed from the state governor. And maybe something like a state judicial council, should be established to look into that area and also do the appointment so that there won't be, completely non-interference of the executive arm of government into the judiciary.
And if you think if that is being put into law, don't you think government somehow might have influence to these people?
Of course, there's no way you can completely rule out that aspect that even those who were not directly appointed by those in leadership, they can still be reached out to. They may have 1 or 2 persons who are into government that can be that is the human nature. But we are talking about eliminating that aspect of, owing your loyalty to the man who, pays the pipe and dictates the tune. That's the angle I'm looking at. Because no matter how you look at it, it will be difficult for any matter, affecting the state that comes to the court of these judges that was sworn in by Okpebholo, that the judgment will go against Okpebholo. It's as simple as it's about human nature. For them, they have been out for 2 years. They were supposed to have been appointed judges. They have been waiting for whatever political reasons, for whatever issue. The immediate past governor refused to swear them in. And someone has come to make that a reality today. My brother, it's as simple as that. There will be some kind of loyalty tied to Okpebholo. So if there's any matter involving Okpebholo that comes to their court, your guess is as good as mine.
All right. All right, so let's move on to the next story now. Tension has continued to mount in the Imo State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC, over the controversies surrounding the refund of the 3 million naira nomination fees imposed on the local government chairmanship aspirants during the purported local government elections held on September 21st, 2024. ATN recalls that the Igbo APC under the state chairman, Dr. McDonald Iberi, had collected 3 million naira each from their chairmanship aspirants as compulsory fees, which sparked controversies in the state and which was subsequently agreed to be refunded to them and the other aspirants in the interest of party harmony, as declared by the state governor. An APC chairmanship aspirant from Owerri Municipal, Evans Anozie, had approached the High Court in Owerri to seek redress, demanding 50 million naira as special general and exemplary damages. In a statement of claims made by his lawyers, led by Professor Francis D.K. SAN, the APC chairmanship aspirant, Anozie, a native of Owerri Nchise, had paid 3 million naira nomination fee, which entitled him to contest for the seat. but the contest was shelved by the second defendant, McDonald Ebere, who insisted that his nominee, the caretaker chairman, should be the sole candidate of the party. The plaintiff's lawyer also claimed that the arbitrariness caused much tension and recrimination between the plaintiff and the second defendant, McDonald Ebere, who sought to deal with the plaintiff. They claimed that it was agreed that the plaintiff and other aspirants be refunded their deposits in the interest of party harmony, which the state governor had declared publicly in many fora. By the reason of the said agreements, the plaintiff applied for a refund and was issued a check for the 3 million naira drawn to the first defendant Imo APC accounts with UBA PLC favor of the plaintiff and signed inter alia by the second defendant and 2 others. The plaintiff, according to his lawyer, had presented the check on 2 occasions, the 16th and 18th of October 2024, but the check was returned unpaid. And on each occasion, he was assured on inquiry that the account of the first defendant was not in red and therefore had sufficient funds before presenting the check. The lawyers maintained that the plaintiff on each occasion was shocked that his check was returned unpaid for reasons not attributable to the plaintiff but to the defendants, and particularly the second defendant, who was said to have countermanded the check, yet nothing was reflected on the check for the non-payment. The plaintiff's lawyer are claiming that he, as a businessman, has lost time and energy pursuing payment of the 3 million naira owned by the first defendant, and that the second defendant has given no respite to his claim and has stated that payments would be delayed as long as possible. The plaintiff will contend at the hearing that the second defendant's act of impunity in inducing breach of payment attracts exemplary damages, where a person acts with impunity, believing he would pay little or no damages. The court would award exemplary damages. Well, here is, the APC coming up with this now. Lots of tensions. After paying 3 million naira not for nomination fees, for the local government polls as of September, they were promised that these funds will be refunded to them on the long run. Here, one of the nominees is saying that none of these funds were refunded to him, and they've been giving him checks that have been bounced several times. He's not getting that, and he has to drag it to the court. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this one.
First thing first, I want to blame the governor of Imo State, for allowing the party to be enmeshed in this, to be embroiled in this kind of controversy.
All right.
It's obvious, looking at the situation of things, the arbitrariness of the chairman of the party who has decided to impose a candidate. In fact, this makes a mockery of our democracy. We are talking about election. People are supposed to be, as long as they are members of the party, at that primary level, you should allow everybody to contend. Allow the electorate, allow what they call them, the voters at the party level, you understand, to vote for who will become their candidate. Let there be some kind of, free and fair conduct of this electoral process, so that whoever that lost will be certified that, yes, I was not able to win because of this or that. The person will go back to the drawing board, not by imposing people. Even inside the imposition, the person who had lost that will be willing to accept, the 3 million naira he paid. Instead of giving him that money back, they are trying to play hanky-panky with him.
Yes.
So, to be frank with you, I'm in complete support of what Mr. Nozde has done, taking the matter, because I've always believed that judiciary is the is the last hope of the common man. Is there to kind of balance between the arms of government. Is there to interpret the law. So if the man feels that he has been affected by the back and forth movement of the chairman of the party, then he should seek redress in court, which he has done. So let the courts interpret what the law states. And if they feel that the damage has been done to him and the claim of 50 million is okay, they of course should award it. So that will serve as a deterrent to other people who would want to, in future, play with people and things like that. So I'm not against the man going to court. But again, we can still have what we call alternative dispute resolution. Everything must not be taken to court. The courts. So if a meeting is called, to resolve the matter outside court, I still will want to urge Mr. Nozde, to accept that call, or for, the sake of the party in the state, because this will drag the party into the mud.
All right, so talking about, giving him checks, I want to put it in my own words, like playing pranks with Anozie at this point in time. What do you make of that? Why aren't they straightforward, the McDonald? Why isn't he straightforward to, giving him the check and getting his money back? Does he have to wait till this is being taken to the courts
it's obvious that he doesn't want to give him back the money. This also impugns on the character of McDonald as a person.
All right.
You understand? From what we heard here, the governor had in different forums made it public that those who were not able to stand in for the election, who bought the nomination form,
should be
giving back their money. The governor has given that charge, and that's why I'm blaming him. After giving that charge, I'm sure he's aware of what is transpiring. So why can't he call the party chairman to order and see how they can resolve the matter instead of to sit there and allow his party in the state to be dragged into the mud? So it's obvious, it shows the character of the person of
McDonald.
The McDonald, for trying to play, smart one on Anozie. Unfortunately for him, Anozie will not be taken for a ride, and he has gone to court. So I really do not know what the outcome will be, but I don't see Anozie losing us completely, because we are talking about his money that was supposed to be paid back. He was not allowed to, go through the process. It's not like he went through the process and lost. He was not allowed to go through the process. Another person was imposed, and that also caused, to question the kind of democracy we run, where people can easily, because they are holding power, and you do not allow the process to go the way it should, go. So it's obvious the court will rule on the matter if there's no move to withdraw the matter from the court and settle out of court.
All right. This redress now is demanding for the sum of 15 million naira from McDonald, the second plaintiff. What do you make of that as well?
There's nothing wrong with that, because the man said he's a businessman. It's like tying 3 million naira, for a very long time. If he had invested that 3 million naira somewhere, maybe, just maybe, he would have made more than that 15 million. And beyond that, you look at the kind of pains that the man would have underwent all through this way. He had gone to the bank twice to cash the check. No way. It's like someone playing with his intelligence. So I don't see anything wrong. He's even might to have, sought for, damage of 50 million. Some persons will take it up to $1 billion so that next time McDonald, will not joke with people. So I don't see anything wrong with that amount of money he's taking for redress.
All right, I would like us to also look deep into the APC caucus now, the party itself now. How this development is going to affect this other APC candidates coming up. How is this going to affect the party on the national, the local government level as well as the national level?
Unfortunately, I will tell you that this will not have any direct negative effect on the party, given the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. If this is in a climate where things like this are frowned at, the party's chances of winning an election will be so slim, because people will see men who are running the affairs of the party as being dishonorable. But unfortunately, those things does not really count. Like I said, even the McDonald and what is his name? Anozie, you can still see them by tomorrow, immediately after settlement. Still, parleying and doing things together. And the Nigerians will begin to wonder, are these not the two persons that were having issues? So this will not affect the chances of the party in Imo State. APC is well rooted in that state. We are following the governor who is there. So I don't see any negative effect of what has transpired. It's just between Anozie and McDonald. Let McDonald for trying to, outsmart people. It should be dealt with according to the law.
Well, talking about structures, is it really advisable we have similar structures such as this, in parties, in states? What do you think?
Like I said, all these things will not have any negative effect.
Yes.
McDonald may not necessarily be a criminal.
Okay.
He could be wanting to settle a score between him and Anozie. Something beyond what you and I may understand. It may have, predated what is happening today. You understand? So, a criminal act is a criminal act. It's left for the court to determine if it's actually a criminal act. But like I said, it will not have any negative effect on the party. His own position as a party chairman may not even be affected.
Okay.
That is how bad it is down here.
All right. So, in your opinion, do you think the court? We are not trying to preempt the court anyway. Do you think the court is going to, make justice to this?
Of course, the court will be there to do justice to the matter. But what I cannot assure is if they will be able to award that 50 million naira, damages that Anoze is demanding. That is what I am not too sure. But definitely, Anoze will get his money because he did not contest for the election. I mean, the court is not foolish not to understand that the man, why would the court allow him to waste 3 million naira? Even if it is not refundable, there has been some kind of discussion that because this process was not allowed to go the way it should go, we imposed someone and we said, okay, for those who we are not able to be imposed, we will return. There was a kind of agreement that we will return this money, which the governor had come to say in different fora that they will return this money. So the court will definitely make sure that Anoze gets his money back. And maybe something on top of his money. It may not necessarily be the 15 million naira is demanded, but they will do justice to the matter.
All right, so let's take a look onto this story now. Kano State. Kano State House of Assembly on Monday rejected the tax reform bills currently under consideration at the National Assembly. At a plenary presided over by the Speaker, Ismail Falgore, the lawmakers kicked against the bills after extensive deliberation. The Majority Leader, Lawan Hussaini ANPP Dala, introduced a motion of urgent public importance emphasizing the need for Northern lawmakers and the Conference of Speakers to prevent the passage of the bills. Mr. Hussaini argued that if passed into law, the bills would not benefit the northern states. He condemned the Senate's decision to approve the bills, saying we view it as a deliberate effort to sabotage the economy, increase hardship, and further impoverish the region. Mr. Hussaini expressed concern over the proposed VAT allocation system, noting that states like Lagos, where major corporations such as Nigerian banks, telecommunication companies, and multinational companies were headquartered, would receive the largest share of the VAT. Lagos and its environs would account for 80% of the VAT collected in Nigeria, leaving northern states with a minimal share, he said. He warned that if allowed to scale through, the bill would further weaken northern states, potentially rendering some unable to pay salaries and worsening poverty and hardship. Supporting the motion, Salisu Mohammed, APC Doguwa, urged the upper legislative house to focus on more pressing national issues such as attention, insecurity, and unemployment, instead of rushing the tax reform bills through the legislative process. Similarly, Murtala Kadage, ANPP Garko, called for unity among lawmakers to prevent the bills from passing for the benefits of the region. The House called on Northern members of the Senate and House of Representatives, along with the Conference of Speakers, to take swift and decisive action to block the passage of the bills. All right, here is about the controversial bills, tax reform bills, I beg your pardon, that has been going on for a couple of days now. And here is the governor of Kano State saying that most of the northern governors are rejecting these bills, and these have sparked controversies all over the nation. I would like to get your thoughts on this particular development.
Well, if I want to along with the Northerners, I don't see anything wrong. Reason from what they adduced here.
Yes.
That most of those multinational companies, the banks and all of that, are headquartered in Lagos. And if they allow this bill to go through, what that means is that Lagos will still be more richer and the northern states will be more poorer. The very essence of governance is to ensure that what is due to you, you get it, and also deliver and administer governance to the people. So they are saying that if this thing is allowed to, if this tax bill is allowed to scale through, what that means is that the northern states will get poorer. And if the northern states get poorer, then the recurrent expenditure will be affected, meaning that the government will not be able to pay salaries the way they are paid. They are already complaining that things are not going the way they are going, and they want to impoverish the people more. So they have called the senators from the northern extraction to ensure that they reject the bill. There's nothing wrong with that, I must tell you.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with rejecting the bills?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it will not be in their favor.
Okay.
You know, this is a federation.
All right.
We are running a federation. We have different states that are the federating units. So all the states and the regions are now looking at, you know, how it will affect them positively. And if they feel that there is a bill at the National Assembly which will affect them negatively, there's nothing wrong in kicking against it. It's democracy. It's not left for those who are sponsoring the bill to see how they can clarify some gray areas, see how they can come up with some kind of assurances to the people that this is not exactly, this is about debate. This is not, you're looking at it from this angle, it should not be like that. Okay, if it's like this, let's see how we can do it this other way to accommodate those your fears and things like that. Those are the kind of, you know, engagement that, you know, those who are sponsoring the bill are supposed to engage. If the Northerners felt that this will not be to their advantage, then I don't see anything wrong in rejecting it. I don't see. Because if the same thing happens, if we are to be on the receiving end of such a bill, we too will be shouting for our senators and our legislators to look for a way to reject such a bill. It happened during when there was proposal for Ruga. Okay. You know, when they wanted to build that Ruga estate for this, most of the southern people called their legislature not to allow that to see the light of the day because they felt that that will affect our people. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, talking about the VAT, one still would wonder why the Northerners would want to, would call for this, that there's absolutely something wrong with the reform bills because they have natural resources. They have so many things that in the northern states that would, you know, make them even achieve even more than Lagos State. I mean, why would they want to, why would they hold this bill?
You see, the challenge we have in Nigeria is that the kind of federation we run, where all states run to Abuja, cap in hand, you know, waiting for allocation that comes from the sale of oil is the major challenge. Yes. If every state can fall, there is no state that is not blessed in Nigeria. Every state in Nigeria is blessed with natural
And that
resources.
is why north of Nigerians are calling out the northern governors, like, why are they calling for the whole of the bill? Because we are all blessed with natural resources.
Those calling out the northern governor, how far their own governors? Have they been doing anything with the resources in their own state?
Well, so far they've not been complaining on the
They have
reform
not
bills.
been complaining because most of those things are not headquartered there. Until we fall back to the way it was. The way it was before, by where states will now be so reliant on whatever they have and contribute to the center. I'm not talking about regionalism now. I'm talking about the state system. Each state have their own natural resources. They have, if for not in agriculture or whatever that they can do to generate money. Then you pay to the center. You now as a state pay tax to the center. You see that we will not be having this kind of issues. Because each state will begin to make laws as it pertains to their state on how to govern their state. Nobody will be relying on the central law that will govern everybody. And that central law will be favorable to some and will not favor some. That is why you are seeing this kind of a thing. But for have a true federal, true things here. So with those things, we can use it to generate fund and, you know, pay tax to the central government. But unfortunately, everybody is relying on the oil. And that is why you're having this kind of...
It still boils down to the same facts that just like we have the natural resources, the oil and all of that, the northern states do have their own natural resources. They have the gold, they have the tin and columbites, they have iron ore and the rest. Can't they, you know, put more work, do more things, more developments, more projects that would, you know, boost productivity the more? We are not saying they are not doing enough. They are doing quite enough, but to boost it the more so that they too can garner some sort of allocations to their states. Don't you think so?
Yeah, it's very important. It's very key to
like, instead of kicking on the reform bills, right? Is it not a time for them, for them, most especially, to look inwards, you know, into the resources they have, things they can use on to build the states?
It's very important and key that they look inward, you know, to harness the resources they have. I agree with you. But some of those resources require very huge amount of money to invest in. Which some of the states do not have. You understand? So the question also is, even the oil, the federal government invested heavily.
On the oil?
Yes. For the oil to begin to generate. In fact, that is also part of the agitation of the people of the South, that for too long we've been feeding this nation. It appears that those from the North are not doing anything with their resources. Now, the areas where they are even trying to see how they can explore, like the good, you see what is happening in Zamfara, you know, to the center. Nigeria is reliant on oil Nigeria is reliant on oil that is coming from a particular region of the country. You understand? So I agree with you. We need to have a reform, because these things are you know, they are working based on the law, the current existing law of the country. It's not something you just wake up and say, okay, since you have iron ore in your place, I'll start mining iron ore and start contributing. It has to be backed by law. So there has to be a kind of reform where people will sit down and item by item they will reform and restructure the way the federation is run, so that it will give room for people to begin to harness those natural resources, even if it means federal government loaning them money to be able to harness, because some of those things we are talking about is a multi-billion-dollar, you know, industry that requires money, you know, huge amount of such money to start. So the state, some of the states may not have the wherewithal, the resources to start, you know, harnessing some of these
So in other words, we can say that they should rather be clamoring for, you know, capitals to develop, to
can't venture.
So let's say the laws,
yeah, let there be reforms,
the laws
and the capital,
and the capitals in place. And so instead of, like, I'm still particular about this reform skill of a thing, right? So instead of, you know, clamoring for the overhaul of these reform bills, right? Or sorry, for the whole of the reform bills, so they should channel their energy, don't you think so, into, you know, into the law, bringing in the law, like you rightly mentioned, for the government to enact a law that would help them in developing these natural resources.
You know, one thing about being a parasite is that you feed so far from there.
Good.
You know, so most times it makes you lazy, or sometimes it makes you mischievous, wanting to keep your own and parasite on the other person's own until it gets finished before you now begin to look inwardly into what you have. That may be the reason for the docility, you understand? So it behooves of the federal government that has the highest power, the authority, I'm talking about the president now and the presidency, to come up with the laws that will, you know, see to these, you know, restructuring.
Okay.
They can lobby the National Assembly to restructure that. This over-reliance on oil is making some part of the country to be docile and lazy. And we have natural resources that are untapped, which if we tap them today, the country will be more richer, stability will come, security and all that will happen. So therefore, let's propose a bill through the National Assembly that will see to the self-reliance of these states, where most of these states will begin to harness and probably contribute to the center, or even where the federal government will begin to harness them by themselves and also be, you know, sharing their allocation the way they are doing to the oil and things like anyone that will work. So I believe that the power to do that lies with the president of this country and the presidency. Okay. You understand? Let them start from there and sponsor an executive bill, because if you're waiting for parasite on quotes, you know, to, you know, be comfortable that he has a lot of natural resources, let him know it will not happen. They are just okay with, you know, the allocation that comes through the sale of oil and other, you know, mineral resources that where Nigeria makes money from. You know, and they are just comfortable keeping their own, believing that someday the oil well will dry up, and when it dry up, that is when they begin to agitate. So let the federal government, you know, be the ones to spearhead, you know, they call for reforms, structural reforms.
All right. Murtala Kadage here says that calls for unity among lawmakers to prevent the bills from passing for the benefits of the region. What would you make of this? Calling for the
call by Kano State legislators.
Murtala Kadage says like that the bill should not be passed.
This is politics. This is democracy.
Okay.
And if they feel that lobbying is part of democracy, if they feel that what the proposed bill at the National Assembly will not favor them, in all intent and, you know, purpose, they feel that it will not favor them, there's nothing wrong to call on their National Assembly members to reject the bill at the national. Don't allow that bill to pass, to skate through. I gave a practical example of what happened here. When there was a proposal under Buhari, President Buhari, about Ruga. There were agitations, people kicked against it. Down here in the south, the ordinary people, even those who do not even understand how these things, one day we are told that they, you know, some kind of lies were told, or some kind of stories were told, and they rejected it in all intent and purpose that such a thing should not be allowed to be built here. People called on the, you know, National Assembly members not to allow it to skate through in the National Assembly. So it's politics. There's nothing wrong. But for you that is proposing this, if you don't have anything, if you feel that it will not be against those people, I think you should educate them more. You should engage them. You should not be in a hurry to pass a law. Hold some kind of stakeholders meeting with these people, with the ordinary people, with the stakeholders from those northern regions. Educate them. Let them know why this thing will not be like this. And even if it's going to be like that, let them know how you can ameliorate some of those shortfalls and challenges so that everybody will be at, at par. If you don't do that, then don't expect it to scale through. Even if they have the minority in the National Assembly, if you eventually allow it to scale through, implementation will pose some kind of problems. Because if the people, the law is up for the people. If the people refuses, then be ready to kill them all, because they will begin to sabotage effort. They begin to sabotage the effort to ensure that that thing that they are against does not see the light of the day. It's as simple as that. So there should be more engagement. The federal government or the sponsors of this bill should do some kind of engagement with the critical stakeholders from the northern part of the country, educate them, and see how they can, it is a give and take thing. Okay, if this will affect you people, let's propose this and that will increase this and that for you people and all of that. Some kind of percentage to make them come to par with the other states and things like that. So if nothing like that is done, it will be difficult, I must tell you. Not because they are northerners. I'm talking about Nigerians. I cited the example of Ruga. How that thing did not see the light of the day till today. It has nothing to do with majority or minority.
All right, thank you so much. At this point, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll take on the more remaining stories. Remember, do not go anywhere.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
On this place, economic stability and confidence. The propaganda are proper to lead of this minister and the propaganda. I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
On this place, economic stability and confidence. The propaganda are proper to lead of this minister and the propaganda. I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
On this place, economic stability and confidence. The propaganda are proper to lead of this minister and the propaganda. I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
On this place, economic stability and confidence. The propaganda are proper to lead of this minister and the propaganda. I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
And will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the
Give us access to our money.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites, which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
and will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the
Give us access to our money.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites, which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
and will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the
Give us access to our money.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites, which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
and will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I believe of this minister and the
Give us access to our money.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward and the hypocrites, which I
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about come and salvage us from where we are.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
and will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister and the
Give us access to our money.
I've always said there are two sets of people, the oppressors and the oppressed, and in between are the coward.
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians believe now is not about the government. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are on the sea.
and will place economic stability and confidence. To condemn this act, I thought that we get the lead of this minister.
Give us access to our money.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching the Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. And joining us on Open Conversation today is George Azunda Chinda, a political analyst. And then we move on to our next story. Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas has described local government elections in the country as democracy principles. According to the Speaker, the recently conducted strengthening the local government system, adding that the recent Supreme Court's judgment mandating the conduct of elections into the councils and directed disbursement of funds to them has provided a significant legal framework that supports the autonomy and functionality of local government across the country. Well, just like you said, that local governments, actually, they are making mockery of local governments, elections in the nation today. In the same vein, Abbas is also saying that local government elections is a mockery of Nigeria's democracy. I would like to get your thoughts on this.
Oh, yes, I am in complete support of Tajuddin Abbas, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, on his position regarding what he termed mockery of democracy, by the way and conduct of the local government election. It allows for people who are not prepared to